This Washington Commanders team preview edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is giving away $15 million in Best Ball Mania 5. Sign up with SGPN to claim your first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm has the best AI picks and projections, and their college football product is about to drop. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Hey everybody, Joe Theismann here. You're listening to SGPN. So do this, let it ride.
Cox. He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, stacking the money green with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
Dog.
Boy, a lot of names for this team. A lot of confusion over the years.
The Commander Football Redskins, you mean?
Identity changes.
There is something interesting. I now want to be known as a Commander.
Yes.
I am now transitioning out of the football team from my previous. Don't dead name me by calling me the Redskins. A lot of fun you could have with the naming thing. I still say the only thing Dan Snyder did right in his era was briefly where they were called the football team. I thought, holy shit, that's kind of badass. I'm kind of secretly jealous. I hope the Commanders. Well, I guess I said, I hope the Redskins don't stick with the football team, because if they do, I kind of like that name. Luckily, they fucked that up and changed it to the Commanders.
Genius.
No one likes. There was some, hey, Red Wolves, meet us halfway with some other ones. But
yeah, I don't know. It did seem like the football team was an accidental strike, like genius.
Yeah,
move.
you just stumbled into an awesome name. Who can get mad at the football team? It was always funny when what was it? 2 years they were called the football team.
2 seasons.
2 seasons. Just trying to research the football team.
Which is beautiful, like fun. Football team stats. It's like what?
Yeah. But Commanders coming in, obviously big year for them. New head coach, but not really a new head coach. Dan Quinn, who's been 14-23 his last 3 seasons. I randomly said this to you in the office, Ryan. Why did they keep Ron Rivera that first year? I don't understand it. Hey, we're transitioning owners. We need a coach. Why? He was never going to be the coach.
They were confused. They were the Redskins and they were the Commanders. They needed someone to help.
Who better to steer you through an identity crisis than Ron Rivera?
Well, he's also had a lot of names. Remember, he was first Riverboat Ron, and then said no, call me Analytical Ron. Again, a lot of parallels.
Yeah,
parallels. I mean, you make a good point, because how many times does keeping that coach to, like, for stability reasons make sense? You were
the organization, the franchise was a piece of shit. So there was no stability. Dan Snyder had a horrible culture, horrible involvement in the in the personnel management, horrible stadium. The stadium's falling apart. Like, it was a disaster. Yeah, fans. I mean, yes, changing the name, I'm sure pissed off a lot of fans. But if you said what was the biggest issue with the Commanders football team Redskins, it was our owner sucked. And in sports, if your owner sucks, it's hard to get out from that. Like, it really is. And I don't think it had anything to do with RG3 being injured and having his career cut short, but like, that stuff happens when you're a bad owner.
I mean, yeah, it's an organizational thing.
Yeah.
Your organization has stink on it. You can only be so successful. If for those who don't believe in karma, I would point to the Washington football team.
Well,
and just look at the career arc of that program. I mean, Dan Snyder, that was as Colby often tells us, this storied program. They had the marching band. They won football games. They were part of the reason. They had
an identity.
They were part of the reason the NFC East was the NFC Beast back then. No thanks to your Eagles, But
They were, I mean, you don't send me down that rabbit hole. But those early '90s Eagles teams were awesome. And if Randall Cunningham doesn't get his leg blown out the first game of the 1991 season, which they still made the playoffs with Jim McMahon,
Eagles did it
like
was
that
rough.
defense was awesome. And
Just
they
rough
were
to be in that division then against.
the timing of that division, and then they had some really unfortunate incidents. Their best team in '91, they lost Randall that first game. They had Buddy Ryan, who thought offensive play calling was for queers, and then I mean those are his words, not mine.
So someone's tuning into to hear a Washington Commanders preview, and you were just getting a history
Jerome
lesson.
Brown, the guy. I mean, the tragic passing of Jerome Brown. Ryan, they could could have been.
I mean, again, if you go back and there was a 10-year period where the NFC East won 7 Super Bowls.
Yes.
That's and again, the Eagles were the third, like often the team on the outside.
So current Commanders, we're looking at a rookie quarterback. It does seems like Jayden Daniels is going to be the day one starter. I would assume, Ryan, right?
I think in general we're going to have a bunch of young folks. Yeah, I think would you say who's more of a lock to be starting week 1, Caleb Williams or Jayden Daniels?
Well, Caleb Williams, they already announced the starter even before preseason, much to Tyson Bagent's chagrin. But
shit.
So yeah, I think technically Williams is more of a lock, but Jayden Daniels, I'm projecting will be the starter. Right. Rookie quarterbacks drafted in the top 10 started at least 10 games as a rookie, 11 and 15 and 3 to the over. So a little below 500, but we've seen rookie quarterbacks pop. We've seen rookie quarterbacks in particular who run the ball be pretty interesting and be tough for defenses to figure out, especially early. And again, RG3 is probably the best example of a rookie who not afraid to run the ball, hitting the ground running. I'm worried a little bit.
It's great parallel because they had similar, collegiate final seasons where they won the Heisman and also people were like, huh?
Kind of came out of nowhere.
Is the team not that good?
Yeah. And so mobile quarterbacks, I think you have a shot. But again, Commanders coming off the worst point differential in the NFL at negative 198. They got rid of Chase Young, who had been up and down for them, but they certainly spent a ton of draft capital on him, and Montez Sweat. I think losing Montez Sweat, if this Commanders team had an identity the past couple of years, it was the defensive line was a bit of a handful.
Yeah, and you said a lot of things without even talking about the coach.
Yeah, Dan Quinn. I said 14 and 23 his last 3 years. I'm skeptical of him as a head coach. And Kingsbury, well,
pull up the players because really it's a one of the teams that got in some ways overhauled the most. Decent roster to start with, but it almost like they went out of their way to get rid of players. Like last year was some sort of weird evaluation, and they just said you're off the island. They had a bunch of draft picks. I think most people agree they did pretty well by name. They did pretty well in the. I think when you draft Christian McCaffrey's brother late, people are gonna be, oh yeah, good draft.
Well, and that defensive tackle Newton, I think we
loved him out of Illinois.
I thought he could be a little bit higher than some people. I thought he could creep into the first round, so I was high on him. Ben Sinnott, certainly interesting. Although fantasy wise, it'll be interesting to see if Zach Ertz can maybe steal some touches from him early on. Zacchaeus, not a horrible third receiver. Ekeler, how much does he have left in the tank? I mean, Ekeler, projection wise, could be all over. Like if Ekeler had 90 catches this season, would you be shocked, Ryan? Or if he had like 40 and missed 8 games, I wouldn't be shocked either. Like he is a very, very interesting profile. Bobby Wagner, a big name. Again, how much does he have left? Kind of interesting. I mean, if Newton is really good, maybe this defense hits the ground running. I just Dan Quinn to me, new franchise. I wouldn't have gone with the retread if I was the Commanders. I think you want some fresh life, and you want you're starting over with an athletic quarterback, and maybe they think Kingsbury is the guy to coach up Jayden Daniels, but I probably would have selected a guy that can maximize Jayden Daniels' potential. And I think Jayden Daniels is very interesting. I think he's going to struggle to stay on the field if he is going to run as much as he does. His frame isn't that big. And collarbone, those kind of injuries, you get knocked around a couple times in the NFL. That's I think the biggest concern for this Commanders team.
And you get rid of Sam Howell and Jacob. Like you don't have good backups anymore either.
Yeah. I thought they
felt a little reckless to me to be okay with Marcus Mariota and Jeff Driscoll.
Yes. Marcus Mariota, by all accounts, really bad in Philly.
But whose accounts? I mean,
the Eagles beat reporter. Every time they talk about Kenny Pickett, they're like, yeah, I mean, Kenny Pickett can throw the ball, which was obviously a huge concern with Marcus Mariota last year. I don't know why you ran.
How do you get a guy who can't throw the ball?
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know why you ran Sam Howell out of the building. He was still on a rookie contract. I understand there's maybe like a dynamic of, hey, we drafted him, but they didn't draft.
It makes me think Jayden Daniels is soft if they were worried about their guy.
Who knows what management's doing? But Sam Howell to me showed enough flashes, and he's a guy on a rookie contract. I wouldn't have ran him out of the building. I would much rather keep a guy like Sam Howell on the depth chart. And I would even say Sam Howell, I would trust him to start a game more than Marcus Mariota.
Well, and the interesting thing is the last time, I mean, the parallels are hilarious. The last time that Washington took a quarterback like this, they also took another quarterback later. It was Kirk Cousins. This time it's Sam Hartman, who's the buzz is all about his beautiful hair. But you know, where does he fit into this? You like that? You know, for me, it's Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah.
And last we remember Cliff Kingsbury in the National Football League, he was going to Thailand to decompress.
He did just say kind of fuck it and went off the grid.
First, he had the draft swagger during the pandemic, if you remember.
Yep.
And then when he lost his job, he went to Thailand, which I don't know why you'd go to Thailand. That's interesting. Where he said he wasn't going to coach football for a while, but before he landed back in the States, he had a job with USC, an old rehab stint, and all of a sudden he's back in the NFL, and people have completely forgotten every cautionary tale about Cliff Kingsbury, including from the guy who created the fucking offense he runs. Cliff's gonna have to figure out the defensive side of the ball. Well, good news, he's got a defensive head coach, so maybe
that was a great quote of Mike Leach describing Cliff Kingsbury when we had Mike Leach on, who he didn't like talking about football. He'd much rather talk about raccoons, and how they can see their own reflection in silverware and they find it enchanting. That was an all-time episode, but we did get him talking about Cliff Kingsbury, and he was very skeptical on Cliff figuring out the defense. He's at least only the offensive coordinator.
But I swing all the way around back to say, you know, we really haven't seen the air raid be successful at the NFL level. And 1, 2, I worry that he's going to be left to his devices because Dan Quinn's off tinkering with the defense, and every single team that Cliff Kingsbury has coached starts well, finishes poorly.
Yeah.
So how can we expect anything different?
Well, and that's why they're kind of a tough team to figure out. Obviously, I don't think they have a super high ceiling, but to your point, Cliff Kingsbury teams start hot. Jayden Daniels maybe running the ball a bunch, winning some games they don't deserve to. You know what I mean? Like, I could see them winning some games, especially early.
That's what he did at LSU, so that's fair.
That maybe they don't have that maybe they shouldn't win, and then I could see them really hitting a wall late. Maybe Jayden Daniels taking some hits, Cliff Kingsbury collapsing. Coming off their 2023 season, they were 4-13 straight up, 6-10-1 ATS. Their win total was 6.5. They went under. Kramer and I both correctly predicted that last season. If you're keeping track, I'm 5-1 on last year's win total. Kramer 4-2 with the Giants. And
can't win them all.
And of course, today's phrase that pays, today's episode, the phrase that pays, the word the. So again, if you're keeping track at home, this is the 6th word in the 32 word phrase. Collect all 32 words, submit it at the end of the team previews, and you got a chance to win a $500 circa ticket.
Has anyone sent in a picture of where they're keeping track of the word?
No. Again, we will accept mail-in entries. Shout out to you, Big Blue. There is a guy who just keeps DMing me every word as we do it.
Is he thinking that's going to count?
If he DMs me 32 times with each word, maybe
is that fair?
Maybe I will count it. We'll have to officially set up.
We'll have to talk to the judges. Who's the judge?
That's a good. Well, Ryan, you're the judge, as we know. All right,
I'll get in costume.
Off the positional ranks, nothing popping as you expect. Bottom, 20ish kind of everything. The front seven, fell off a little bit. I think with the
Well, they got rid of
Montez
guys.
Sweat.
They tried to make it
I mean, I
worse.
think Chase Young, maybe addition by subtraction. Montez Sweat, I don't know about that. Their turnover margin, -14. I think, if Jayden Daniels doesn't turn the ball over, that regresses a bunch. That could be something that goes in their favor. Their defensive DVOA rank 31st, DVOA rank overall 31st.
You got to imagine that gets better, right?
I think they positively come back to the middle here a little bit with some of the turnover stuff, with some of the spark that a guy like Jayden Daniels can bring. But I am concerned about their ceiling. We're going to be joined by a Commanders Redskins football team insider in just a second. Before we do, shout out to Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy. If you haven't signed up using that promo code SGPN, what are you waiting for? You get that bonus cash up to $250. You get some pick'em specials. We got you covered. The Daily Dog a daily podcast Monday through Friday, giving you the best plays in Underdog Fantasy, the Best Ball Mania, aka the best way to play fantasy football. Just draft your team once, don't have to worry about waivers, anything else. $15 million in cash up for grabs, and the Pick'em super fun. They got Pick'em for the Olympics, baseball, golf, anything. Even I'm sure they'll have some NFL preseason. We're gonna give out our favorite Commanders Underdog plays for season long at the end of the episode. You get it all over at underdogfantasy.com, promo code SGPN. And we're also brought to you by Circus Sports. Love me some Circus Sports. They're giving away $16 million this football season. No rake, $16 million guaranteed. You think you can pick some games against the spread? Well, why aren't you in Circa Millions? This is the 6th year in a row they're running it. 100% payback to the players. Circuit Survivor, 10 million guaranteed. Enter in Nevada, play from anywhere, and of course, use our proxy, Vegas Matty, as he's going to be joining us for the Raiders preview. Footballcontestproxy.com, promo code SGP. Get $50 off your proxy fee and come out and hang out with us. Contest weekend, August 22nd through the 24th. Use the promo code SGP15. And you get 15% off your hotel stay. Circusports.com.
Nevada, add it up.
Nevada. Yes. I think
you struggling through Nevada has become a part. I didn't realize we were going to have that on the show. Well,
I've officially fixed it, Nevada, and we're good to go. Joining us on the line, from the Big 12 college football experience and the college basketball experience, Moneyline Mac, Ryan McIntyre. What's happening, Mac?
How are you guys doing? Hail to the Redskins and the best division in football, the NFC Beast. Let's talk about it.
NFC Beast. I know there was some talk about changing the name officially back to the Redskins, and you started a petition against that, correct?
No, you must have the wrong guy. That might have been Colby.
That might have been Colby. Very upset. So it's tough to get super optimistic about your team coming into this season, but I think, hey, if I was a fan, I would say, hey, we got Jayden Daniels.
Yep.
This guy just won the Heisman Trophy. He's athletic. He can create plays on the move. He can cover up some holes that we may have on this roster, and he might be able to win some games we might not be able to win otherwise. Maybe he's the quarterback of the future. Where are you at coming into this season with Jayden Daniels?
I like the pick overall. Like you said, it's been hard to be optimistic as a Redskins fan. We haven't won 11 games since 1991. Well, I was born in 1992, so I guess I'll take the fault for the decline in this great franchise over the 30 years. But a new coaching regime, Dan Quinn comes over. He's been to a Super Bowl. Cliff Kingsbury is going to be calling offensive plays. Jayden Daniels, he was electric at LSU. He was fun to watch. And last time the Skins have had the number 2 pick in the draft, they've won the division the next year, back to back with Chase Young and RG3.
That was an interesting Chase Young year. What were you guys? 7, 8 and 1, 7 and 9.
Hey, got to cross the finish line.
I do love our buddy Andrew Robb, who hangs the banner up of a. I'm not one to discredit banners, but if you're sub 500, maybe you don't prominently display the division banner there. But
nice, win's a win.
Nice nugget there. I like where your head's at. I guess honestly, I'm more skeptical on the head coach Dan Quinn than I am on Jayden Daniels. You can talk me into Jayden Daniels much more than you can talk me into Dan Quinn. Where are you at with DQ in this Commanders team?
I like TQ. I actually thought it was kind of an unsexy hire, and this has been kind of a franchise that has beated their chests on winning the offseason with the headlines, whether it was
It's
Bieniemy,
true.
McNabb. I mean, you could go offseason after offseason. But I mean, yeah, he ended up going 14-20 over the last 3 years, but before that, 10-6, 11-5. He did have a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl. I mean, I know that they ended up losing, but if you told me I could get to the Super Bowl and be up 28-3, I'll take that as a Redskins fan. Now,
Yeah.
on the
And that
other
was
side,
Shanahan's fault. That was
Yeah.
Shanahan's fault.
Blame
why they lost.
I
Tyler
agree.
Shanahan's the real mush in that one.
and honestly, I would probably chalk Dallas's somewhat regular season success over the last 3 years mainly because of Dan Quinn. They have not been to the playoffs under Jerry Jones since the 90s, 3 straight years, except for these last 3 years. And it's no coincidence that he was the defensive coordinator because they were atrocious Mike McCarthy's first year with Mike Nolan as the defensive coordinator.
Oh, poor Mike Nolan. The suit's getting catching some shrapnel here. But yeah, it is interesting because even when you go back to examine Dan Quinn's first season, it was like they started 5-0. They had a decent season. They didn't make the playoffs, but they were like right there. So, that's the upside. If you believe that he's turned over the roster and he brought in a bunch of guys on the defensive side of the ball. So you would hope that those were dudes that he wanted. And it's got to feel nice to hear a Cowboy say he wants to go play for the head coach of the Washington Commanders here. But I don't. To Sean's point, there is just something untrustworthy about the combination of Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury operating any sort of major vessel. And so I guess you're also in on Kingsbury.
I like that they have Anthony Lynn there as the running backs coach, who's also been a head coach. So Cliff can get a little bit pass happy for my own liking, and that was the big thing with Bieniemy. Everybody crowned Bieniemy for whatever reason as the next head coach, and they never ran the ball last year. So I think the addition of Anthony Lynn helps create a little bit of balance. Kingsbury is an offensive mind, and I think he'll be a better coach the second time around, not having to be a head coach.
Well, and Dan Quinn, shout out to Dan Quinn. I think a masterclass of surrounding himself by guys that you don't want taking over the job and being the head coach. Like if things go bad, no one's going to be calling for Cliff Kingsbury. No one's going to be calling for Anthony Lynn. They're like, all right, we'll just ride it out with Dan.
But I will say that was one of my nuggets. It's got to be cool to see Anthony Lynn bring the high jump back to training camp. That's why they brought Austin Ekeler in. He had to set the bar really high.
I think he is a pretty good positional head coach. I mean, at least you look at the units he coached up. The running back groups he's coached up, he has had a good run, and no pun intended there. I think if the Commanders are gonna do anything this year, you need that running group, and especially maybe like a pass catching running back like Ekeler to help support them.
It's also a bunch of guys who have learned how not to be a head coach. Like there is something nuanced about how, in a positive way, Dan Quinn has built a roster of people that would have a lot of good wisdom. Now, whether or not it works and whether or not they've gotten all the skeletons out of the building for this Washington team, that's another question. There might still be a couple more years of karma owed on the Mr. Snyder situation. So I don't think they can be good right away. I don't think the NFL will let that happen either.
Yeah,
you want to get into the sticky stuff.
Yeah, I think overall, I think the defense. Okay, I mean, we'll see what Newton does as a rookie there.
I think they'll be good. You
think the defense will be good?
Yeah, I think generally, Dan Quinn has rarely had horrible defenses.
That's true.
He did it last time. That was part of my research, was going back and looking last time, and they did have early defensive success. I think his system is very simple and lets players go play, and so they're going to buy into it. And it really is going to come to me. This season will be determined on how well Jayden Daniels stays healthy, more than anything. Because I really would have, like you said earlier, why not keep Sam Howell? You worried about that alpha male in the locker room around Jayden Daniels? It just doesn't. I mean, he's going to get hurt. What we watched him in college, he's going to run into contact, and in the NFL, he's going to have to learn that he shouldn't do that before he doesn't do it. I mean, RG3 was the same fucking way. And it's fine, and you want him to do that, but it means he's going to get hurt. So what happens when they get hurt? How do they How do they survive that? Because honestly, it's really kind of hard to, as someone who generally is not worried about the Commanders because the Giants own them. The roster's decent, and if the defensive coach can make the defensive players play well, and Cliff Kingsbury can learn from his mistakes and maybe adjust over the course of the season, I don't see how this team isn't decent.
Yeah, I guess to me,
it's injury to the quarterback.
Injury to the quarterback and the offensive line. I mean, positional ranks on our sheet have them 27th in the league, but a mobile quarterback can certainly make up for a struggling offensive line. And to your point, Ryan, it's gonna be. I think they're gonna have some success with Daniels running around. It's just, how sustainable is that? And the rookie quarterbacks that run have had higher success rate than normal, at least compared to other rookie quarterbacks.
My prediction: we're going to see in week 1, maybe within the first couple of weeks of the season, we're going to see Jayden Daniels do something just absolutely breathtaking, amazing with his legs. And then we're also going to see him run around too much, get blasted from the blind side, ball shoots up straight in the air, pick 6 the other way. I feel like both of those things are in the range for week
Extreme
1.
highlights and lowlights. Yeah. All right, let's walk through the schedule. Let's get some predictions on record here of how we think the Commanders are going to do. Of course, win total sitting at 6.5, make playoffs plus 300, miss playoffs minus 400, division 10-1, conference 50-1, Super Bowl 120-1.
Yeah, I mean the number seems low, right?
Yeah,
about right.
Again, it's how long can Daniels stay upright?
Well, all right. So we've been talking about all the bad teams with the 4.5, the 5.5, and the 6.5 win totals. The Commanders have the most games where they're favored so far, 3. Only 20th in strength of schedule, so an opportunity there. I think we mentioned it earlier. Not much to mention with the net rest. And disrespectful. Only 2 primetime games for our Commanders. And again, remember the NFC has 9 home games this year. I believe that's consistent, of course, across the board. All right, first 4.
Tough start
for a rookie quarterback and a whole new rookie coaching staff. A lot of new at Tampa. We love taking the Florida teams in the early games, Sean. Then the Giants at home, where somehow they are making a rookie quarterback. Do they not watch the game? The Commanders don't beat the Giants. At Cincinnati, at Arizona. So another bad team that opens with 3 road games in 4 weeks, Sean. The Cliff Kingsbury revenge spot could be intriguing. So normally I would say they're going to get a win here, right?
Yeah.
But they're not going to beat the Giants. This is, I mean, even Mac knows this.
Mac, where are you at? Where are you at with this start? Tough scheduling start. You don't like playing Tampa in September. It's gonna be a thermometer game there. What do you think? And at Bengals, tough. At Cardinals could be frisky. What do you got them going here? The first 4.
I'm gonna say 1-3. I think that they'll get one of those games, whether it's at Cardinals or Giants at home or at Tampa. At Tampa's going to be tough because it's a rookie quarterback versus a Todd Bowles defense. They're not going to win in Cincinnati on Monday night, so I'm already chalking that one up as an L. But those other 3, I think they can get one of them. They have to beat the goddamn Giants eventually. I mean, I don't understand why we can't beat the Giants, but it is what it is. New coaching staff. Dan Quinn had success against the Giants. Maybe he brings home a W here.
With different teams, he had success, which it is a true statement. But I would argue, like, you could go down the list of defenses, and they're going to face a bunch of different defenses. And I think even Gannon in Arizona, like, they're all going to attack you in different ways, and that's interesting for a rookie because you want to test this guy. How does he process after the snap? If I had to make a bet for early in the season, I think we could see a lot of turnovers to start the year because these defenses are all going to be attacking him in different ways and really testing that a bit. Or we're going to see a shitload of rushing yards. I feel like, again, both of those are in the range of outcomes. I kind of want to say 1-3.
Yeah,
but 0-4 is a possibility. Maybe they shock the world and beat the Bengals.
I'm going 1-3. I think one of these 4 they're going to get. I can't tell you which one. But it does feel like one of these Jayden Daniels is going to have himself a game that carries the team.
Bengals play the Chiefs week 2. Just
okay.
Make a little
letdown stuff, but
a little note there.
But it is Monday night at home, which it's tough to let down. And then You have the back-to-back. Cardinals. Maybe you would think not as hard, but it's on a short week, back-to-back. Not a great scheduling spot for them. What about the next four, Kramer?
Cleveland, then at Baltimore, Carolina. That is a winnable game, and then the Chicago Bears also at home. I do think in general just seeing the Bears point spread in all these games, they are being respected a ton. And again,
Montez Sweat revenge game. I would,
if you handicap the Bears and the Commanders, why are the Bears favored? Like, why are the Bears favored on the road?
Road favorites. I mean, again,
right.
I think the Bears, what we saw out of their defense late last year against this Commanders offensive line, I think could be trouble. But you're right. Certainly, they're getting. I mean, they're topping Caleb. They're pricing Caleb Williams at the top of the market. So I think if you're looking to fade the Bears, you're certainly getting a discount. But Mac, what do you got here in this 4-game stretch?
I got 2-2. I think this happened with Ron's team the first year. It ended bad with Ron, but his first year they started like 1-5, 2-5. But I thought they got better as the year went on. I think they're going to get better. I had them losing the first 3 and then getting that Cardinals win, and I think this is a decent stretch. 2-2. So what? 3-5 through 8 games with the first year head coach.
Kramer.
I mean, it just the defenses continue, like the Browns, the Ravens, and then they let up with the Panthers. They're winning one of these games, maybe 2.
Yeah, I think 1 is the floor, 2 ceiling. I don't know that the
Browns.
Browns
Know what? Flip me to 0-4 to start and 2-2 here.
Okay,
because I'm with Mac. I think that will be the narrative, right? Coming week, maybe even week 7, week 8, they get a back-to-back home wins. People are saying, "Hey, this is assuming Jayden Daniels has been still healthy at this point."
The Browns game is interesting because it's a non-conference road favorite Cleveland Browns team, but and you got Deshaun Watson on the road, but that D line of the Browns I think is going to be a handful for a guy like Jayden Daniels. But I keep saying there's going to be a couple games that Jayden Daniels wins that you might not see on paper because of the plays he can make with his legs. I'll go 2-2. So I got him 3-5, Max 3-5, Kramer 2-6.
Browns are coming off a road game in Vegas. Could be trouble. Also a middle game of a 3-game road trip.
I'm not touching Deshaun Watson.
So it is an interesting scheduling spot for the Commanders there. If they can take advantage. All right, next 4 at the Giants, where they are only one. And again, do they not watch the game? Steelers at home at Eagles. First game against the Eagles comes late, and Cowboys at home.
That's not Thanksgiving, right?
They play the Giants on Thanksgiving.
Okay. Oh,
the Philly game is Thursday though. Thursday night.
It is. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Confirmed.
So
is their second prime
2
time
road
game?
division games. Then you have a home game against the Cowboys, home game against the Steelers. Mac, tough stretch here. What do you think about your Commanders?
So I gave the Giants the first one. I'll say we split with the Giants, and I think we get the Cowboy game. I think we get the Cowboy game. Dan Quinn against Dak.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah, 2-2, 2-2 again. They're going to improve throughout the year. And J Mark's in the chat. We're going to beat the Bears week 8. So
I was going to say I'm guessing J Mark. I wonder who J Mark likes more, Jayden Daniels or Caleb Williams. It's probably a real Sophie's choice for him. All right, what are you doing, Sean? 2-2, 1-3.
Yeah, because I think to Mac's point, if we're saying could they?
I feel like they always give the Eagles a tough game too.
Yeah, I think I think the Eagles will. I would be shocked if they lost outright. And confirm that's a Thursday night. You said, yeah, and then you get the extra rest against the Cowboys. I think they will be live against the Cowboys. So if I say they're going to beat the Cowboys, and they do give them I think they can beat the Cowboys and then win one of the Steelers Giants games. So I'll say 2-2 as well. 5-7, not horrible. Kramer, what do you have, Matt?
I'll go 1-3.
1-3. Okay, so you got them. You got them at. You got them at 3 and 9.
Go back and make my first quadrant 1-3. That was a mistake. I should have kept the original plan.
So you're up to 4 and 8.
Okay.
All
right. They then again, we haven't spoken about a bye week. They have a very late one. Week 13, they got the Titans at home. Interesting matchup there. Then a bye week. Then at Saints, Eagles at home, Falcons at home, and at Cowboys. I'll split the. I mean, 2 wins here, maybe 3.
Yeah, it's tough because we're high in the Titans.
Jayden Daniels could be hurt by now.
Preview, yeah, and you get the late bye, which normally you can talk yourself into it, but again, Dan Quinn, Jayden Daniels, if he's running a bunch, you would almost probably want that bye earlier, like in the after the Ravens game, week 6. That would have been nice for them. 2 wins feels kind of generous, but somewhat realistic. I mean, they have 3 home games. At New Orleans, winnable game. Cowboys, yeah, the spread's 5.5. I'll say 2 and 3 sounds about right. Kramer,
Yeah, I'll go 2.
2 and 3. Mac, you got him at 5 and 7. What do you have him closing out at?
So I had him splitting with all the NFC East this year. So I got him 3 and 2 in the last one, 8 and 9.
Okay.
They screamed to me, old school football guy as the head coach. They're going to play hard for their first year head coach. They got veterans like Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, Austin Ekeler. They're going to be feisty. But yeah, I think that they'll get better throughout the year and probably just miss the playoffs.
What was I at 6?
Yeah. So you're just on the under, Kramer.
That's probably good because I feel pretty strongly that Jayden Daniels isn't going to make it. I like
that is honestly to me that is the hardest part of the handicap. Like if you're projecting Jayden Daniels to start all 17 of these games, then I think I like the over.
He runs like you go back and watch Lamar Jackson in college, and you'll see he had a knack for kind of getting out of the way. Jayden Daniels ran like Josh Allen in college.
He does draw a decent amount of contact. All right, we're gonna get over to our best bets. Before we do that, of course, shout out to Odds Jam. Odds Jam. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably putting down a bunch of bets, and why not? But if you're betting a bunch, you want to make sure you get the best odds. Odds Jam is awesome for that. They find the best price for every bet you want. U.S., Canada. They even got you covered if you're on Bet Online, Bovada, and they have a sweet arbitrage tool where, let's say you have options to get down to multiple books. They will highlight spots where, hey, you bet both sides of a bet, you guarantee yourself a profit. It's taking candy from a baby, very easy and a guaranteed positive ROI. And they just add a new fantasy tool which helps you crush Underdog or some of the other fantasy pick'em sites out there. Again, highly recommend Odds Jam. If you're listening to our show, if you're listening to a team preview in August, in late July, you're a true DGen and you need Odds Jam. Get a 7-day free trial. I think you're going to like it, and 35% off your first month. oddsjam.com, promo code SGPN, or use our link in the sign up in the description. oddsjam.com, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. AI picks, projections, props, they got you covered. They've been dominating in golf, and their football products are about to hit the market. Highly recommend tinkering around over on Rhythm. It's so fun. You pick the stats you like that are important, that not are important, and you can build your own model. Or if that sounds like something you don't want to bother doing, just use their picks, props, and projections. They got you covered. And again, also a 7-day free trial. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. All right, Kramer. So what are we doing? How are we betting this Washington Commander football team, Redskins? I guess over 6.5 wins, but I don't even know if I'm honestly, I don't even know if I'm firing on it. Cause to me, it's like right on the number. I hate when people say that, but to me, it's it really is going to come down to that last stretch there. But Mac, you like the over 6.5 wins. What else are you firing on for this Commanders team?
I think you sprinkle the division odds, because how many times do we see it in this chaos division where there's a couple injuries, whether it's at the quarterback position, 2012, 2016, 2020, every 4 years the Skins pop up and win this division. 2024, I'll sprinkle a little bit. I'm seeing 11-1. But yeah, I definitely like the over 6.5 in year one of Dan Quinn. I think they play hard. They got a bunch of vets on the defense, and I could see them being that 4 seed, playing the 5 seed in the first round and getting absolutely whacked. But I'm actually a little more bullish on this team coming into next year.
So winning the division, maybe at 8-9.
I like this.
But
Yeah.
no, the NFC,
How great would that
the
be?
NFC East,
if
we
another
know.
banner under 500 winning
yeah.
a division.
That
What
would
we
be
do, 8-9 division winner.
that would be a funny streak to continue, and maybe tied something to an election year, then winning the division.
Oh boy,
we'll have to go. We'll have to dig deep,
trend builder,
and find the truth. Any sort of props stuff you find interesting in the market? Jayden Daniels to lead the league in interceptions. I don't think I'm firing on that.
But no, like what about are you looking at the rookie of the year market or anything for Jayden Daniels?
I mean, if you do like him to make the playoffs, it certainly would make a compelling case for offensive rookie of the year.
Plus 550 right now.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you. That's tough. I don't know. Yeah, where are you at with rookie of the year stuff or any of these other futures bets?
Well, if they are going to win eight games, maybe 9 games, and be in that playoff discussion, I think he's going to be right there to win the rookie of the year. I'm seeing him right now at 7-1 at one book. So I definitely think with Cliff Kingsbury as the offensive coordinator, and like I said, for whatever reason, the rookie year for the second pick has been good to the Skins. RG3 and Chase Young. It's years 2 and on after that has been the shit show. So I will. I'll take Jayden Daniels to win rookie of the year. 7-1. He's better than Caleb Williams. J Mark.
What I would look for too is I've not found, but I know last year they offered quarterback like most rushing yards for quarterbacks.
Okay,
to me, that would be like. I don't think he's gonna stay healthy, but if he does, he's very much gonna, I think, be very much in the mix to lead that category. Would you, Sean? Would you dabble in a lead the league in rushing yards?
I don't know. I was gonna see. Can you find a price on him to lead the league in rushing touchdowns? We saw that with last year with Allen and Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts were right up there. I think the rushing touchdowns to me is kind of more intriguing. Yards,
they're cowardly. They're not listing the quarterbacks, unfortunately.
You guys like over 550.5 for rushing yards? If he's healthy, he's getting that.
I think it's one of those numbers where there's so much of this is injury based because there's no way he doesn't get there. Like I think he's in the 1,000 rushing yards is reasonable if he stays healthy to think about. And so the number is just thinking he's going to miss games. I have to imagine. Sean nailed it early on. He's just going to play football early on. Like so much of the air raid is quick, but what do you think is going to happen when that shit's not there? Because it won't be there.
So, but that is my underdog play. Jayden Daniels higher 525.5 rushing yards because I think he can get that. I think he can get that somewhat early. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he got that in like 9 games. And then I do think
it does seem like a very low number.
Jayden Daniels most rushing touchdowns. I don't see it priced anywhere. No. I'm going to give myself 150-1 because that's where they're cutting it off. But I mean, look at the market. Jalen Hurts is 15-1. Josh Allen 15-1. Should Jayden Daniels be 10 times that? I think that's a bit crazy, especially in the Kingsbury offense. Where do you think
they're just being cowards?
Okay.
He'll be priced like 25-1.
Really?
30-1, 40, under 50-1.
All right. So I'll put Jayden Daniels most rushing touchdowns, something to come back to. Cause if I can find that and it's like 50-1 or higher, I think that's something good to fire on. His rushing yards to me is the most consistent thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we keep talking maybe a little bit at both sides of our mouth, but I think 525.5 is low enough that even if he does get hurt or falls off late, you still got a good chance of cashing that. So I'll take the higher on the 525 rushing yards.
It does
over on Underdog Fantasy.
Seems so hard. Like, how does he not get there if he plays 14 games?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think you could get it in 10 games. That would be what, a 53-yard average. I think that's very realistic. So yeah. I do like the higher rushing yards for Daniels. Kramer, what do you got Underdog? What do you got futures for this Commanders team?
Well, I'll start Underdog because I'll ask you a trivia question.
Yes.
When's the last time Austin Ekeler His receiving yards is 399.5. When's the last time Austin Ekeler didn't go higher than 399.5 receiving yards in a season?
I think he's done it every year.
His rookie year.
Oh, okay. What?
Like where even last year
Yeah.
when it was like, oh, he's washed up, he's dust. He's gonna have a ton of catches. 399.5 is almost in the same way for Jayden Daniels. It just seems like not the right number. So
I think what's happening is they're trying to price in some injury risk with Austin Ekeler and Jayden Daniels, and it's just pulling it way down where, maybe they get injured, but I mean, Austin Ekeler, to your point, Ryan, could get injured, miss 6 games, and still get this in 11 games, right? Like, so
if he averages 5 catches a game and plays 10 games, he's getting over this number, or he's getting higher than.
Yeah, to your point, last year, like it was a disaster year for him. He only played 14 games. He still had 436 receiving yards. So I think he might even get more volume. He wasn't competing with some of the receivers that the Chargers had. So,
and shout out to Underdog for listing Curtis Samuel as a member of the Commanders.
Oh yeah, come on, he's on the Bills. What are you doing? Update your stuff, Underdog.
You guys are too busy signing Bill Belichick.
What Kramer? What else? Any other futures plays for the Commanders?
Not much.
Well, because it's like
I'm with you. I want to play. Like
I think their floor is like okay. I don't think they're in the mix for last win list because you look at some of those spreads early on. They should be in a couple of those games. I don't think they're in the mix for fewest wins because I think Daniels keeps them around. But yeah, I would just kind of lean into the Daniels rushing stuff. Maybe a most rushing yards for a quarterback. He's probably going to be the favorite there, but I still like that.
Last winless team popped on my radar just because I think they can. I think anytime you have a rookie quarterback and you're going against a number of attacking defenses, that could be a problem. But I ended up Dan Quinn's earlier success actually is what got me off some of these because I do think defense guy, if it works, the idea that they're going to steal a weird game that Jayden Daniels does something crazy in makes sense to me. Here's what I'll say. I'm with you on the rushing touchdowns, rushing yards. I found no markets, but I'm looking to bet the rookies. Like I want to bet on him to lead the rookies in those things. I want to bet like not just rookie quarterbacks. I want to bet him to lead rookies in rushing yards, rushing touchdowns. I want to bet him to lead the league in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. To me, that's the seal. That's the way you play the ceiling case for the Commanders. I strangely don't think Dan Quinn really has a chance to get Coach of the Year. Maybe he does. Maybe I'm missing on that. But yeah, so if I was going to play the season turns out well, I think a lot of that is Jayden Daniels and his legs. So, but I can't. These markets aren't out there for whatever reason. I don't know.
And last market I think we have to discuss. Mac, you're high on the Commanders, or at least a little relative.
Pause. Yeah. Sorry, Jayden Daniels to lead the NFC East in rushing is available.
What is that?
20-1.
Okay, that's a fun. Yeah, I could take that.
I like that because I mean, who's Philly? You got Hurts and you got Barkley.
Maybe eating into each other.
So it's Barkley minus 130, Singletary plus 190, Zeke plus 1,000.
Yeah.
Ekeler plus 1,200, Brian Robinson plus 2,000, and Jayden Daniels plus.
I mean,
2,000.
all you have to do, really, in my mind, is probably beat out Saquon. Well, Saquon and Hurts, because I think Zeke, I don't think is going to get there, and and if you beat out the other guys on your team, 20-1, I think is a pretty good price.
I think you're going to have to beat out. Yeah, you're going to have to beat out Brian Robinson probably. Yeah, like that to me is the guy on your own team you're working against, and. You know what? This is the one, and I think as we find the other markets, so this actually makes me think he'll be a longer shot than I said earlier, Sean.
Okay, so I'll just leave on Jayden Daniels' most rushing touchdowns. I'll come back to it, but we do both like Daniels' NFC East most rushing yards, 20-1. That's a fun long shot. Yeah. Mac, do you have anything on Underdog? The Underdog season long stuff jumping out at you here. We got Jahan Dotson, Brian Robinson, Ekeler. You got some numbers up here for
Curtis Samuel.
Curtis Samuel. Yeah. We will allow you to play Curtis Samuel.
So I've kind of talked about it, like the theme for why I think they're going to be around that 7, 8, 9 win mark is they got a bunch of vets that got a chip on their shoulder. John Allen, Deron Payne, guy we haven't even mentioned that's been pretty damn good and consistent despite no quarterback play over the years has been Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
I see him right now at higher than 69.5 receptions. You look at the last 4 years, 79, 77, 77, 87. He's an Iron Man where he plays basically every game. He's durable. The only year he did not get it was his rookie year when they were a complete mess, 2-14 team. So I like him higher than 69.5 receptions. I think he's a guy that's kind of been forgotten a little bit, which is how bad they've been and inconsistent. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder this year.
Last bet I want to get Mac's take on is Dan Quinn, Coach of the Year. I'm seeing DK has it at 18-1. Shop around, but if you think they're going to go from a 4-win team to an 8-win team to maybe a 9-win team, if you think they win the division at 11-1, he certainly would have a very good case for Coach of the Year. Are you also sprinkling Dan Quinn, Coach of the Year, Mac?
I probably not, just because I think they would have to go like 11-6, because if they backdoor like they have in previous years with the division winner at 8-9, everybody will just say, "Oh, Hurts or Prescott got injured, and that's why they won the division." Like that's
he's
that's
not
the
going to
path
get the credit.
That's the path I laid out. I think their ceiling's like 9 wins. I can't see them going double digits this year. So I kind of just think that you take the division 11-1 and you can win it at 8-9, and that's your better 11-1 than Dan Quinn, Coach of the Year.
I feel the same way. I do think Dan Quinn has to overcome, like, even if he does the things he's supposed to do, he's going to have to overcome someone else that's more likable.
Yeah. Well, I think the fact that
younger,
we've already
sexier, exactly.
Yeah. And he's, hasn't coached in a while, but he's not a new coach. So it's not as fun to write the Dan Quinn is back story.
And he choked the Super Bowl away. So people don't forget that. All right, Sean, breaking news, please.
Yes, breaking news.
All right, you're gonna have update the betting sheet. I found an outlet.
Okay.
Jayden Daniels' most rushing yards is 130-1. Jayden Daniels' most rushing touchdowns is 65-1.
Okay. All right. I'm in.
Put me down for both of those. Because again, if he is healthy, I don't see why we aren't looking at like a Michael Vick type. It's like the Anthony Richardson thing. If he stays healthy, he scores like 22 touchdowns. It's unreal. But he only played 4 games and he only finished one of them.
All right, so we're in on the Jayden Daniels rushing stuff. Let's recap some of the best bets. I got him going 7-10. That feels like a very Commanders-y record. Kramer has him 6-11. Could win the division. Mac has him 8-9. He likes the over. He likes the division. He likes Daniels Rookie of the Year. Terry McLaurin over 69.5 catches. I'm on all Jayden Daniels stuff. Most rushing touchdowns, rushing yards, higher 525.5 season long. Kramer likes the Ekeler 399.5 receiving yards, higher. Lead the NFC East. Most rushing yards, most rushing touchdowns. So,
and I would say I
think that's a fun way to, not be in on the Commanders, but if they do hit their ceiling, it's because he's amazing running.
And I would say that this Ekeler, Jayden Daniels, if we just combined our two, and honestly, I would even throw Max in there if you like the, but I just our two, like that to me, if you like the team and they do well, like that, those numbers are comical. Because I don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand how they came to these numbers.
I think they're trying to price in some injury stuff, and I think it's really.
I think they just had to fire some of their numbers guys to pay Bill Belichick.
Probably.
Shout out to fellow
Bill Belichick got the bag.
I just can't wait to watch Bill Belichick do a best ball draft. Bill, how do you feel about stacking in the 18th round?
Drafting.
I always like to stack my linebackers over a 3-4.
I mean, not knowing how to draft is ironically how he ended up on Underdog Fantasy. I mean, if he knew how to draft, he'd probably still be up in New England. Mac, always appreciate you having you on the show. Make sure you check out the college basketball experience with Mac, the college the Big 12 college experience. Give him a follow on social there. Moneyline Mac or Moneyline_Mac on the old X. And he's holding up the Redskins glass. Let's get it.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
For the Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, the second the money green. He's Ryan.
Oh, poor Commanders. They think they're going to win a game against the Giants this year.
Kramer, let it ride.